Greetings from Scouse Farm. Got a little garden update because we're in spring now and it's a nice sunny day. But you can see the big monster cherry tree is now putting blossom out. And I did take one large branch off. I'll show you when I walk up into the garden. But I haven't managed to do as much as I wanted on that yet. But I will give it a little bit more of a trim. But now it's in blossom, I might just leave it again to go through this season, and then I'll take it in about October, November when it drops its leaves. I'll tidy it up a bit. But we can see now at the front, a few things are springing back into life. So we've got the salvia amethyst lips, which is this one here. It looks dead. So if you have got one of these, don't worry, it does look dead in winter, but it will come back to life. And it is absolutely gorgeous. It's got lovely little purple and white flowers on, and the smell is very citrusy and pleasant to me anyway. And you can see we've got the spiky thing there, that's come back into life. They've started putting out all of the red leaves, and that'll stay like that now till about October, November. But they are very spiky, so they are used in a lot of gardens like mine on the corner when they were placed here as just more like for security, to stop people climbing in your garden, because you don't want to be walking through that bush, I can tell you that. And then we've got loads of the iris coming up, which also always look dead, but they just magically come back to life. So they will be flowering, I think, in May, maybe end of May and June or something like that, if I remember rightly. And a few volunteer foxgloves, which I'm happy about, have also popped up. So they'll start putting flowers out. I don't know if they're the white ones or the purpley ones, but we've got a few volunteers in that clump, and a leek behind it, another volunteer. Because if you remember from the videos last year, in this bed that I've built, there was a massive leek that I let go to flower, and the bees were just all over it all the time. So all of the seeds off that have been scattered about, and the position it was in, as you can see, that's an individual leek that's been right through winter, and I didn't plant any of these. So all of that is from the leek plants that was there. So it's sent up all these new multi-stems, and they're all close together. But I mean, there's good food there. There's a lot of food all in a short space, and I didn't plant a single seed. They're just volunteers. They've come up on their own. And we've got some garlic, which isn't doing too bad in this front bed. Some of them in the back aren't doing very well. That one's crap. That one's snuffed it pretty much. That's not going to come to much, I don't think. And we've got some spring onions and another leek. So they're all spring onions from last year, and you can see some of them are putting out flower heads now. So it's the second year they're bolting off into the sun to make seed. So I'll let them open, because again, it brings loads of bees into the garden and they love them. And the same for the carrots. I'm going to try, and they went through right through winter, so I'm trying to hope they flower and put some seeds out so I can save my own seeds. But the rest of the bed, I've sprinkled more carrots in there, and we'll see what happens this year with them. But a lot of it, the garden got changed last year, and the bed here, this is new. The structure's new anyway, but it's always had stuff planted there. But you've got a few little shoots of green. You can see through the spiders things. So those spiders web looking things are there just to stop the cats. Because cats, if you put fresh soil in a bed in your garden and it's open, the cats in the neighborhood will just dive in and use it as a toilet. So I'll just try and discourage them by putting those things down, which are apparently meant for ponds. So you put them in ponds to stop birds pecking into the fish. But we've got some green coming through, so hopefully that's the lettuce I've planted. There's a fair few lettuce in there. I think I've put maybe a cabbage or a cauliflower seed in there. I honestly can't remember. I know there's definitely lettuce in there, so I'll just see what pops up, and then we'll just hope it doesn't get munched by slugs or dug up by cats. And that bed in the corner where the strawberries used to live is now, there the spring onions are planted in August. So August 2024 they went in as seed, and as you can see, we've got 2 rows of spring onions there, and they're starting to put weight on, so they'll be good food by July, I think, June, July. And where the cat protector is there, I've put a couple of layers of carrot seeds. It's not the best place because it doesn't get much, if any, direct sun for the majority of the day, but for some reason things grow okay in there, because the strawberries were brilliant in there. And this little dwarf tree is a cherry, and I think it's about year 4 or 5 now, and for the last few years I've had good fruit off of it, and every year the fruit gets sweeter, so it's less sour than when you first start picking them if you plant one in its first or second year. So when you buy these from the garden centres, they're usually maybe 1 or 2 year old anyway. So maybe this is six years old, 5, 6, maybe 7. But I do trim it because it's supposed to be a dwarf one, but it spreads out quite a lot and blocks the light. So you can see there's loads of buds on there, which means we're going to get a lot of leaf growth and a lot of cherries, because they form on the new branches that are getting poked out everywhere. So we'll get a lot of cherries on there. And I've lifted the lid off the compost to show you in what sort of stuff I throw in my compost. So this is the active one. It's been added to a little bit lately, some weeds, parsnips from the kitchen, a few other scraps from the kitchen, bit of cardboard there, and grass clippings and everything else. So all of that goes in the compost, and everything you see in the back garden in my beds is from these bins. So we've got that one there, and we've got the other one there, the bigger one. So when it rots down about halfway there, I'll move it into that one and then just keep adding to this one, and then over time this big one fills up and then it quickly becomes usable compost. And that cherry action, you can see the log from where it was, so that's where I cut it off. And I'm keeping these for TJ, who's another YouTuber who does videos around Liverpool. She makes like wands and like Harry Potter type stuff, and apparently cherry wood is good for making staffs, wands and witchy things. So I've kept these. Maybe that one's too big, but that one there, be able to do something with that. And there's loads more in there. So we've got a load in here that could be made into a hand wand or something. Loads of cherry wood. So she's got a good bit of craft work to be done there. And in here, that ugly looking thing there, that's actually a water lily. I don't know if it'll survive, but it was too big for my pond, because my pond's quite small, you'll see now. And it was taken over and rooting, and there was not much room for the fish to swim about. So I got rid of that and give it to someone who I was working in a road in Norris Green, and I walked through a front garden gate, and literally the entire lawn, what would be the lawn, was dug up by this couple who moved into the house, and it was turned into a pond, and it was really deep. It was massive. It just looked ridiculous. Not ridiculous, it was brilliant, but you don't expect to open a garden gate in an urban area, just like a house about that size. And then the whole front garden was basically a pond where the lawn should have been. So I said, I've got a water lily there, you can have it, and I dropped it off. And I'm going to go back and see it in flower this summer. But that, as you can see, it's not very big, the pond, so it was taken over. But there are fish in there, they're just hiding. And yesterday I done some work in the front here. There was loads of weeds growing through, and brambles and things. You can see the brambles there. I don't mind them at the front because I want to get blackberries off them, but they just keep popping up everywhere. So I'm always on the lookout for any of their new growth. And then that is a lavender, which was a gift. So that's got plonked in there as well. That's coming back. You can see all the green. And we've got these these were like £1 each or something in a garden centre on offer. So they're just planted there, and they seem to be doing well. Because it's just early April now, and they've been in flower for about 2 weeks. And another volunteer foxglove there, and that is red hot pokers, so they'll pop up at some point. But there's some lilies there coming through as well. You can see them just breaking through the ground. Some lily bulbs I've put in here. Nothing's really thought of, it's just if I've got stuff, instead of throwing it out, I've just planted in random places and see if it pops up. And there you've got another bedding plant there. You can see the pinky flowers, some muscari, and then the Hebe Midnight Sky is that bush you can see with all of the red leaves on the end of it. That's massive now, but that gives good cover from the road as well, so I'm happy with that. And this is the star of the show in the front garden. This is the rhododendron, which is very tall and leggy. because previously it was shaded by the cherry tree, and this was a conifer until I had it cut down, and that was literally shading the whole front garden. It was massive. But this, now you want to see the flowers, and I think it's May, mid to late May, that these flowers will open, and they're like dark pink flowers, and they are absolutely beautiful. So that now is getting a lot more light. It'll bush out, and hopefully that'll keep growing tall, and we'll see a lot of flowers on there. And not much popping up here just yet, but we've got a rose there which I always cut back now, and it always regenerates. So if you've got a rose that gets out of control, just take it back down to the ground, and if the root system is nicely developed, it will always pop back up. And then not much to show on the flowers, but they're all poking through now. Hostas there, more lilies, and some other stuff that's yellow, and we've got a load more of the types of flowers that will just randomly pop up throughout the summer. And we've got a hover bee thing right in front of us here. I hope it's not one of them little drones. Get away from me. Yeah, they want to be famous. They're on the film now. And the tulips, you can see, are just about to open up. They won't take long now until they open up. So that will be a lot of colour in the front. And we've got thornless blackberries in the hanging basket there, with Frankenstein gardening them, in case anyone wants to come and pinch them. But they're lovely, them as well. They just taste just like a normal blackberry, but you don't get yourself spiked when you're touching it because there's no thorns on it, which is always helpful. So let's go through into the back, and I'll give you a quick view in the back. Won't spend too long because I know the video's been going long as it is. But we've got strawberries there, volunteer strawberries. I didn't plant any of them. They come back year after year, and other than slug damage, you can still get a few good fruit bunches off them plants in the floor there. Most of them I've put in containers so I can keep an eye on them in case slugs get in there. But we've got garlic chives there, normal chives next to it, and then all of this is all a new bed I've created for this year, which I'm planting up. And we've got potatoes that have recently been planted. So if you've not seen that video, I'll leave a link up here somewhere, and you can watch how they get planted and how you can grow your own potatoes if you've not done it before, and just keep them in a container, and then you know exactly where you are. Dead easy to look after, and you get yourself a gorgeous harvest of your own spuds. And then we've got loads more plants, vegetables, flowers, everything else in pots along this, which is the sunniest part of the garden. It gets most of the sun most of the day, so a lot of things that need sun will grow very well in this part of the garden. And you just look at those chives there you see in that container. So again, you don't need a garden, you can grow a lot of food in containers, and this is only a small container. And just look at the health of those chives next to the strawberries there. So get yourselves a few packets of seeds and just have a go. And there's another thornless blackberry there, and then the strawberries, they're in this trench-like container which is quite deep, and they get lovely fruit off that because it gets a lot of sun. And just planted a cabbage seed there, it was poking through, so just covered it up, try and keep the slugs off it while it's young and the pigeons, and then hopefully that will prove that you can grow a cabbage in a container also. But I've given it a couple of mows now, so the lawn's starting to look a little bit better after the winter. We've got flowers, food from last year, so the garlic is doing very well. This is all garlic planted in October. This is a dwarf columnar apple tree, which gives all of its fruit very close to the main trunk, so you don't have it taking over the garden, which is very productive, and definitely worth getting yourselves one if you've got a small garden. And this rocket's going to flower now because it's been in over winter, but that is beautiful. That's a wild rocket. You can still eat them leaves. And there's another version of it there that's been through winter as well, so that's a lot fatter. Excuse me, a lot fatter, so I'll be picking a few leaves off that as well. Then we've got our star of the show blueberries. Got this one in the container, which I pruned a little bit too hard, I think, last year. So I'm just going to leave it now to grow whichever way it wants and just keep it tidy. And then that one is an evergreen blueberry bush, which gives absolutely monstrous harvests. And the fruit is just the best blueberries I've ever tasted, the ones that come off this bush. And then as you can see there, go past the birdhouse with the wine corks and the guard pig. In there we've got a nest, but I don't know if we'll get any visitors this year because the magpies pulled the robins. There was a robin in there when I first built it. That's the robin's nest that it made, and magpies just ragged the eggs out, which was typical of them. And that is a volunteer poppy, which is an oriental poppy, which will hopefully flower this year because we had a bad year last year for them. And that is all the new bed that has been laced up with Scouse Farm compost. So all of this is homegrown compost from those bins out the front that I've just showed you. And you can see there we've got a few cabbage seedlings. I've put parsnips there, seeds. I've never tried growing them before, and this isn't the sunny spot of the garden, so I'm not too confident, but we'll see what happens. And then I'm just thinking about what to put here, so we'll see what seeds come up first in my little trays, and then if we get some good growth, I'll put some cabbages and cauliflowers and things in that part of it. And these are all leeks and garlic. Some of the garlic didn't do too well in this bed either, but the front ones aren't too bad. That leek's been through winter, as is these ones, or have these ones. And then this is another dwarf fruit tree. This is a dwarf pear tree, and that gives gorgeous conference pears every like October, November time, which is very, very, very welcome because they are beautiful. So I'm hoping this gets a lot of sun this year and we get some good fruit, and it doesn't get any disease like last year. Because of this rose, which I've again cut back right back to the base, and you can see it's putting out new growth now. But last year with the wet winter, a lot of that rose was growing into the pear tree, and it was spreading all of the like black spot off the leaves onto the pears themselves, so it wasn't brilliant. But this year I'm hoping that's not going to happen. And this tulip might be the first one to open, and it's one of the best ones as well. It's gorgeous, that one. So that's nearly ready to be out into full bloom. Some poppies behind there, some Welsh poppies we call them, the yellow and orange ones. And I'm gonna put, I think, some Syrian thyme there, which I've got growing in a pot. And already we've got loads of growth on these poppies. And wait till you see this under the tree, all of the poppies there. Some of the poppies are just phenomenal, the colours and the texture of them. And that is where we are now, under the tree. And then at the back, this area is where my dad's going to build some sort of roof structure there, so we can get it under cover, and then I can put a lot of the stuff under there, because I used to have a shed there but it was rotten and I've knocked it down. But I definitely need something to store a few things, so that's what that's going to be. And even more plants, and no food in this side, it's just all flowers. This is the sunny side of the garden, and if I was going to do it again, I'd probably have created a vegetable bed here, but there's too many perennials in here that just pop up in random places, so I don't know what's what half the time. And that's another salvia, you can see there. That's why they all look scraggly and dead, but they come back to life, and they're just phenomenal. And the one out the front that you could see out there, that one was just a cutting off this. So I just took one cutting off that, and then that bush has formed in about 2 years. It was that big. It's mad how quick it can grow. And we've got a few flowers there at the back, and then muscari down here, usually first to open. And this puts out loads of beautiful pink flowers and changes colours. The leaves change colour, but on the whole, I think this area is just for flowers. Not much room for food now. And I am training this clematis, whatever you call them, up this rickety little structure I've built. So that's just going to climb and then hopefully cover the fence panel with a lot of flower in about a month or two. And then there's another one not ideal being in that little pot, but it was a little cheap one from a garden centre, so it seems to have worked, and it's starting to put out new growth. So we'll see what it looks like, because it's not flowered before. It only went in last year, so we'll see what the flowers look like. But you can see there it's got some flower buds forming, so I'm keen to see what they look like when they open, which is going to be a nice little surprise. Right, well, this went way longer than expected, and if you're still here at the end, nice one. Thank you very much for sticking around and being bored, getting talked to death about gardening. But I'll be looking to do a few more historical videos soon, and we've got a little guest. Say hello. But yeah, I'll be looking to do a few more historical videos soon. I'm going to be booking some time off work at some point in the next month or so I can get out and try and film somewhere. But that'll do yous. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you have yourselves a great day on Scouse Farm. We'll see you all again soon.